New AP Top 25, new Verballer Top 12. The biggest gainers in the AP Top 25, we've got Georgia up 4 to number 5, Georgia Tech up 5 to number 7, Vandy up 7, cracking the top 10, BYU slow and steady wins the race stand. They're up 4, now number 11 in the country. Biggest droppers, Miami down 7 to 9. Texas Tech down 7 to number 14. Tennessee down 6 to number 17. And LSU drops 10 all the way down to number 20. This mirrors very closely with what we see in the Verballer Top 12. The Verballer Top 12 has Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the same as the AP Top 25. We do see some disparities once we get outside that top 4, but many of the same teams. We've got Oregon, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Miami at 8, Vandy at 9, Ole Miss at 10, BYU again at 11, Notre Dame peaking in at number 12, just like in the AP Top 25. So I think the disparities have all but vanished at this point. We are now 8 weeks into the season. We have a really solid base of understanding for where these teams are at. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, we see a lot going down each week. There's been a lot of movement week to week in these polls, but it is nice to see that finally the AP poll is starting to mirror the more superior poll in the college football universe, that being the Verballer Top 12.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the AP poll right now. It's 8 of 10. 8 of the top 10 are SEC Big Ten, if my math is correct.
Yep.
So that's being dominated. BYU is the highest ranked Big 12 team, and then obviously having Miami and Georgia Tech in the top 10 there is interesting. Look, it's a very strange year that certainly like what Georgia has accomplished lately is super impressive. What Alabama's accomplished lately is super impressive. But outside of Ohio State, everybody has like kind of had a scare that makes them look mortal. Nobody has really looked dominant. I guess, again, other than Ohio State, and you look at a 1-score win against Texas now with like, ooh, that's not a great look, but that was week 1. So it's an interesting year for parity. It's an interesting year that there's a lot of movement that is potential from all the way down to like ASU at 24 right now. We'll see on Michigan, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for a limber October, November, which I think is great.
A limber poll is something that we live by here,
of course,
over at SVHQ. But let me ask you this. Among the teams that are currently in the top 12,
okay,
I'm giving you the opportunity to sell one of them. A team that by the end of all this will not be inside the top 12. I think we have a lot of the usual suspects in there right now.
Right.
You got one pick, though. One pick for a team that will not finish in the top 12 that's currently there.
BYU. And it's nothing against BYU. They've just played a lot of close against a lot of average seeming teams. And I don't include Utah in that necessarily. That's a rivalry game. That's at home. But that close game against Arizona, the close game against Colorado, I have my doubts to a small extent about what BYU can accomplish on the road. And they're about to take on 3 good to very good teams on the road this last month and a half of the season in Iowa State, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati. Cincinnati currently has probably a top 12, 15 offense in the sport. Right. Sample size isn't great in terms of defensive competition, but I just think it's going to get a little bit realer with the green nature of Bear Bachmeier at quarterback, who I think is quite exciting and can be really fun. But I think the road is going to affect, I think, BYU's bottom line. And so that's a team that I would say is probably peaking right now. Who do you have?
I thought about Vandy, but then I looked at Vandy's schedule.
It's pretty good.
Vandy's got a game at home this week against Mizzou.
Tough.
We're not going to preview it on this episode. We'll do that on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
But they could beat Mizzou. They go to Texas. That'll be a tough spot.
Yeah.
Texas's offense, not necessarily knocking anybody over at this point. Good defense. I think it's a winnable game.
Yeah.
Home against both Auburn and Kentucky. All Auburn does is lose close games.
True.
Vandy could win that. Rivalry against Tennessee to close things out.
That'll be tough.
Road, that'll be a tough spot.
For sure tough.
But right now, Vandy's sitting with 1 loss, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if a 10-2 Vandy gets in, especially if they lose their last game of the year. But if I'm looking at teams that I want to sell, Vandy's probably not the answer.
Man, if you go 10-2 in the SEC this season, if you're able to navigate the SEC at 10-2 with, I guess, a couple signature wins, you're in a real nice spot.
You really are. I think the team that I am settling on for now is Georgia Tech.
Wow. Okay.
And I like Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has yet to take a loss this year. They have been in a handful of close games. I'm thinking of the Clemson game, thinking of the Wake Forest game. Even the Duke game, to an extent, was close.
Sure.
But I hearken back to something that you and I have talked about a couple times over now. And though this is a good team, it's a tough team. We like Haynes King. Haynes King, thankfully, has stayed pretty healthy so far.
Yeah.
Definitely feels like there's a loss in there.
I agree.
Somewhere along the way.
I agree. And it's amazing if you're Georgia Tech to go 11-1 against, a reasonably tough schedule that certainly finishes with Georgia. That game is, it's in Atlanta, but not at Bobby Dodd.
Right.
I had circled those Wake Forest and Duke games as those spots for an imperfect team to go down on the road, and they found a way. So yeah. I'm believing a lot more than I was before in terms of Georgia Tech continuing to find a way, because the defense has improved very clearly.
Yeah.
And as long as Haynes King is upright, he finds ways to move the ball forward and move the chains. So Georgia Tech is in a great spot. And so I'm not done doubting the super high end of their ceiling. They look really, really good.
The other answer I have here, and this probably will leak out into our conversation about the Ole Miss game, Ole Miss against Oklahoma this week, but you can make a pretty strong case that Ole Miss won't be in the top 12 at the end of the year.
I also considered that in my answer. Yeah.
It's a tough spot this week on the road at Oklahoma. We will get into that.
Yep.
They've got games at home against South Carolina, at home against Florida, on the road at Mississippi State to close things out. Mississippi State's not a bad team. That's a rivalry spot. Who knows what state Florida is going to be in? Even South Carolina can be a pain in the ass sometimes. I could definitely see them taking another loss along the way.
But even then, if you're saying another loss along the way, that's still a 10-2 SEC team with wins against LSU and
right.
I guess take your pick. I guess at that point it would be the likeliest loss is Oklahoma moving forward because it's on the road, 2 consecutive road games. But it's 10-2, I guess, with wins against South Carolina, Florida, LSU, and let's not forget that big comeback win against Wazoo.
Yep.
I don't know. You're going to get in at 10-2 in the SEC or Big Ten, it seems.
Let us know, again, solveverbal@gmail.com. Let us know in the comments wherever you can.
Yeah.
Who are you selling in this top 12? I think it's an interesting debate, to say the least. There are certainly some teams that I would buy to maybe work their way up into the top 12, to maybe get themselves on more secure footing within the big top 12.
Mm-hmm.
I almost said Big 12, but who are you selling? Let us know.
Who is that answer in the teens area, 13 to 20, that you're buying or beyond to make a sizable leap up?
I would buy Texas Tech. I still think Texas Tech is pretty good.
We'll see on quarterback health, though. Yeah,
we'll see on quarterback health. I would be inclined to buy Virginia, not because I'm the hugest Virginia believer, but because they've got a very favorable schedule, and based on what we've seen so far, I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic.
That's true. That Wake Duke 1-2, and they go to the hinterlands.
They do go to the hinterlands.
Yeah. And
another one kind of staying in the ACC would be Louisville. Louisville showed me something on Friday night beating Miami.
That's true, but that's sort of their MO. That's everybody's MO.
It is their MO.
Under Jeff Brom. So they have a pretty good schedule left, though getting Clemson, whatever Clemson is and what their health is at that point, and SMU, and that's on the road. That's a tough one, too, but I think they're in a good spot. I might circle Mizzou here.
I'm not buying Mizzou.
You're
I'm
not buying Mizzou.
Oklahoma. I'm not buying Tennessee.
I guess
I'm certainly not buying LSU.
Yeah.
I'm out on most of those SEC teams that are outside the top 12 at this point.
They're just going to fall once or twice and take themselves out. Okay.
Let us know.
I agree.
Hit us a comment, email, you name it.